Alright, so you guys may have figured out I'm going to be talking about and teaching you about dividing fractions. It's not actually because I struggle with this in school. I was actually super lucky to have absolutely amazing math teachers. But I just think it's a really important concept, and it's important to know why dividing fractions works and not just that it does work. As far as the mechanics go behind dividing fractions, it's actually not that much different than multiplying fractions. Whenever you divide by a fraction, it's the same thing as multiplying by its inverse. So for example, if I take 1 over 3 divided by 1 over 3, this is actually the same thing as 1 over 3 multiplied by 3 over 1. So 3 over 1 comes from the fact that that is what happens when you flip 1 over 3. So now if we take our multiplication rules of fractions, then you'll see we get the numerator multiplied by the numerator and the denominator multiplied by the denominator, so 3 over 3, which equals 1. And this makes sense because we know that any number divided by itself is going to equal 1. Now that you understand the algorithm, I want to get you thinking more about the concept. When doing division problems, we solve either by measurement or groups. With measurement, the answer to the problem is the number of groups. The group model tells us how many are in each group. For example, in the problem 12 divided by 3 equals 4, you can think of it as either 12 items divided into groups of 3 gives you 4 groups. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 3, or you could think of it as 12 items divided into 3 equal groups. 1, 2, 3 groups gives you 4 in each group. This should help to explain the concepts that I'm about to go over. Now that is fine and dandy, just wonderful. It works. But why does it work? We are not satisfied with rote memorization anymore. Okay, so let's find out why this makes sense. Okay, so let's say I have 2 pies. 2 yummy, delicious, identical pies. Lucky me. Here's 1, here's 2. Alright, so I want to divide each pie into thirds. So 2 pies divided into thirds. I'm going to find out what that equals. So I'm going to draw a picture here so you can see. Divide into thirds. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's see if the math checks out. 2 divided by 1/3 is the same as 2 over 1 multiplied by 3 over 1, which equals 6 over 1, which equals 6. So you can see this totally makes sense with our pie example. Let's try a word problem. So you have 3 cups of flour. It takes 3/4 cups of flour to make a batch of pancakes. How many batches can you make? So first let's draw a picture. Imagine these are the cups of flour. They don't look much like cups of flour, but we'll just imagine it is. And we'll visually divide them into quarters, so it's easier to think about. Okay, so now it takes 3/4 cups of flour to make a batch. So here's 3/4, here's 1 batch, here's another 3/4, so here's another batch, another 3/4 here, so this is another batch, and then there's 1 final batch here. So based on the picture, it looks like you can make 4 batches of pancakes, and you'd be right. If you want to check this out with the algorithm, it definitely makes sense. You have 3 over 1 times 4 over 3. I've just skipped to the end step. I've already flipped it, because you know that already. So the 3's cancel out, and you're left with 4. In case you're concerned that we can only start with whole numbers, that's simply not the case. So instead, let's try starting with 2¼ cups of flour. So here's 1 cup of flour. here's another cup of flour. And here we've just got 1/4 of a cup. So now how many batches of pancakes can we make? So here's 3/4. There's 1. There's another 3/4 to make 2. And then here's another 3/4. So you don't have to start out with a whole number for this to make sense. It still totally works out. And of course our answer there is 3. Let's look at this one more way. Let's say we want to divide something by 1/2. Well, this is the same as multiplying by its inverse, or 2/1, or 2. So first off, I'm going to remind you guys what it looks like to divide by 2. Okay, so we're going to take 4 objects. Let's say grapefruit. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4 grapefruit. And we would want to divide them into groups of 2. Here's a group of 2. Here's a group of 2. So 4 divided by 2, ta-da, it equals 2. Okay, but you already knew that. So now I'm going to look at these 4 objects again, these 4 grapefruits. This time, I'm going to take the 4 grapefruit and I'm going to divide it by 1/2. So that means we want to group these grapefruits into groups of 1/2. So here's about half a grapefruit, here's about half a grapefruit. Sorry, it's not totally accurate, but it's close. Here's half a grapefruit, here's another half a grapefruit, and again, and again, and again, and one more. Okay, so if we count up all these halves, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 divided by 1/2, 8. Let's see if that works out. 4/1 multiplied by 2/1, that equals 8. Amazing! The number matches exactly what we expected to get, because we had 4 objects and we put them into groups of 1/2. That's how you divide fractions. Any questions?